Last time I checked, there were 60.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday coaching call. We're so excited to have you guys today. Thank you for your patience with our small technical delay. With me today on camera, I have Dan Manson, our NCL commissioner, and also with me on the phone, coming through my microphone, so hopefully that works, is Costas. Costas, I don't know your official title, I just realized.
I'm the finance director for the National Cyber League.
I like to call him the money man. So Costas knows everything there is to know about payments, so he's going to join us today. But essentially, we're here to talk about how schools and coaches can go through different avenues to do bulk registration for their students. Dan, do you want to get us started with recommendations, or Costas? Who wants to go? I don't know anything about money.
I'll start and turn it over to Costas. But we really try to be flexible with.
Caitlin, I can start if you want. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Costas.
All right.
Go ahead,
I'm the
Costas.
finance director for the National Cyber League on the board, and welcome to this webcast. We thought we might talk about different kinds of options that teams had to pay the NCL very small fee of $35 a season to participate. So when we first started many years ago, the system was very, very crude and rudimentary. You had to kind of mail in checks. You had to click on different kinds of systems. Today, it's worlds apart. We have a unified registration portal where the vast majority, maybe 80% of our players, go on the registration site, click on, pay their single registration, and move on. Or sometimes coaches will pay with multiple registrations and receive their tokens and move on with the game. We've also pioneered a system of purchase orders because there are many universities, community colleges, and other academic institutions that don't want to pay with cash, but they want to pay with a promissory or purchase order where their organization promises to pay the National Cyber League, and based on that promise, we can release the codes right away, then payment usually follows a few days or even weeks later. Those are the fundamental ways you can pay, either by going to the registration site and paying for an individual or a team, by sending a request for a invoice, which then generates a purchase order from the academic institution. And most recently, we even had blanket purchase orders, which have enabled coaches to say, I don't know how many people I'm going to have exactly, but can you send me something for, let's say, up to 50? And we can then count down, or guess that 50, and send out certificates, registration tokens as time goes on for that individual coach. In total, we probably see maybe 30 to 40 institutions use the purchase order system, which means that several hundred simply go to the registration site and pay. So I'm going to stop there to see how many people are confused and whether there's some specific questions, Caitlin, that you want me to answer to kind of clarify
Absolutely.
These different mechanisms.
So I'm just going to recap because I've got a message that the audio isn't quite perfect. So in case anybody struggled to hear, there's essentially three methods to pay. One of them being regular registration, where you pay individually, an invoice method where you can use a purchase order to pay, which is a little confusing to me too, I'm going to be honest, but I have done it before as a teacher. And basically I sent Costas an email that said, I have X number of students, please send me an invoice so that I can give it to the school. The school then sends the check later. So that's all I know about it from the teacher perspective. And then there's the blanket purchase, where you don't know how many students you're going to have, but you say, I'm going to purchase up to 50 codes. And then are 50 codes issued, or how does that work exactly?
So we only issue codes for the number of students the coach is ready to enter into the game. So it may be a blanket purchase order for 50, but the coach says, send me an invoice for 24. So we'll do that. We'll multiply 24 times 35, invoice that coach for the amount. And against that invoice, there'll be either a purchase order generated or an actual check will be cut and mailed to NCL.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. So there's a question from the audience. Anthony asked, is it $35 per person or $35 per team? It is $35 per person. I believe teams are 1 to 7. But if you purchase for your whole team or for your whole school, we've seen purchase orders come in for 50 to 100 registration codes that they disperse to their students. So it is easier for schools, financial institutions at the schools, to send one check for all 50 students rather than to issue 50 individual $35 checks. So that's why we have the purchase order option, just to make it a little easier when bulk purchasing.
Hey, you know a lot about finances.
I know. Growing up, Costas makes a lot of fun of me because I never want to do anything related to money. I pretty much go to Dan crying if I have to do anything with money ever.
Caitlin, you have such good ideas of what to do with money.
I know how to spend money. I don't know how to manage it.
Well,
That's
you also know how to get.
That's very dangerous ground. Caitlin, there is some concern from time to time of people being confused about the difference between a purchase order and an invoice. They'll send an email to me saying, Costas, send me a purchase order for 15 students. I don't send purchase orders. It's the school that sends a purchase order. What I can do is I can invoice the school for 15 students, and then they issue a purchase order, which is basically a promise to pay.
Okay.
With a certain number and a certain budget account from which the money will be taken. So I just thought I'd clarify that.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, in case anyone can't hear, the difference between a purchase order, PO, and an invoice is that the National Cyber League does not issue POs. We issue invoices, and the schools issue purchase orders, which are essentially promises to pay, and it says that the check is coming. Because sometimes schools have such a long process to generate the checks that it could cause you to miss the registration window. So what we do is we allow you to send us a purchase order in order to cover the students who you want to register.
Very good. And then just to make sure that the listeners understand your excellent exposition, Caitlin, a purchase order is not simply, I promise to pay. It's an actual document that's a financial document from usually the finance department, the treasurer's office of the university, the community college, or the high school, and it actually gives a budget account number. In other words, they have to actually set aside money, and that purchase order proves to the NCL that the money is indeed on its way.
That's very complicated stuff. Dan, you had something to add?
No, I think both of you are doing a wonderful job.
I can't hear him.
He said that he thinks we're doing a wonderful job. Yeah, Costas, you're not going to be able to hear Dan because I have him through my headphones so that there isn't an echo.
Gotcha.
So I'll translate back and forth between everyone. This is an interesting show. Cool. So Costas, I'm actually taking a lot of really good notes so that we can hopefully follow up with this soon in a blog post, because this is all stuff that I didn't know. Is there anything else that you find people run into or are frequently confused about when purchasing bulk game codes?
Yes, so another kind of favorite of mine is last-minutitis. It's a dreaded disease. So I'll get an email, let's say 2 hours before registration closes, saying, wow, this is a terrific game. I've got 15 students to register. And if they're 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours to go before registration closes. That's why people like Dan and myself and Franz and you, Caitlin, stay up all night on the last day of registration to make sure that we can process as many of these last-minute concerns as possible, but that also we've become clever over the years and developed the late registration that you might want to talk a little bit yourself, because you've got experience in late registration.
Yeah, I have been a late registration before. I forgot. I was already working with you guys. I thought I was covered. I completely forgot to register, and then I got the email that, hey, you didn't register, and I was like, oh snap. But thankfully, we do have a couple of days after registration closes that we are able to accept additional registrations. Unfortunately, the cost of that registration does go up to $45 instead of $35. So if you're emailing, 2 hours before we close and asking for an invoice so you can get a PO, we're going to invoice you for that 45 unless you can guarantee us that you can get the PO from your school, at 10:30 at night, which I would say is very unlikely, but not impossible. Maybe you have magic superpowers. We support you. So late registration this season runs 3 additional days. So full season registration is until March 20th. Late registration runs the 21st to the 24th. It will absolutely close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on March 24th. And then after that, we're not able to accommodate additional requests. It's really important that we get everything finalized by that point, because the game starts the preseason actually starts on the 23rd. So this date goes past preseason starting, and beyond that, it's just not fair to your students to bring them in too late into the season. If you don't participate in preseason, you don't get ranked into the games. And if you don't get ranked, you're not able to play. You're not able to get a scouting report. It's really important that your students play the preseason. So, 2 days after preseason starts is the be-all, end-all date, and we can't accept additional requests. Dan, you had something to add?
Well, this is also the coach's call. And what we noticed sometimes is a disconnect between those that have codes and the players who receive the codes, and how do the players know who their coach is. So it's a loop that we really want to make sure gets closed. Costas, ask Costas if you have advice on how to connect the issuing of codes with the connection with coaches.
I can actually take this a little bit, Dan, but Costas, the question from Dan was, how do coaches and students who have coaches have questions about how to issue game codes? But I've been a coach, and for me, it's once you get a batch of codes, I enter them into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I start putting names next to the codes as I issue them. I'll issue them by email. I've done text message. I've done photo messages, like however you can get it to your students, whatever method works best for you. Just make sure you're keeping track of which student you give each code, because each code is a one-time use. So it's really important that you don't give 2 students the same code. If students are not sure who their coach is, your coach is the person who paid for you. If your coach didn't pay for you and you're a self-registration, your coach is your academic advisor or one of your professors or whoever you can get support from to really I'm going to be honest here. The only time you need a coach is if you get flagged for cheating. As a student who frequently was a coach for her peers, I could not have gone off and argued and battled for you if you were caught in the cheating audit. But I did a good job as a student coach. We did have an official coach on paper. It was our academic advisor. She oversaw the Seidenberg school, and she would have stepped in and served that purpose if needed. But if you are a student without a coach, you okay, don't freak out. I like to add that disclosure because I think it's important. I don't want students who don't have a coach to feel like they can't play. Costas, did you have anything to add on how to disperse game codes to your students? Costas?
Yeah, I was just trying something else. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think you covered that one fairly well, Caitlin, but I do have something else.
Okay.
When you're ready for a new topic.
We are ready for you.
You're ready for it. So some coaches may have a question like, how do you guys handle all this money? And what are some funny stories about handling money on behalf of my students? So I got a doozy for you.
Oh God.
Most of the money comes on a financial platform called Stripe, and it is automatically received. Credit cards are charged. Documentation is issued because lots of times coaches say, please send me receipts because I forgot to hand in the receipts and they can be reimbursed. But one time, that was one of my favorites, I got a notification from the Stripe system that someone was denying a particular charge and wanted the money back. So we kind of started looking at it. Well, why are they denying the charge? Long story short, it was a guy's mother. The student in California had to use his mother's credit card to charge for the game and forgot to tell his mom. Now, that's okay, but the mom saw the charge, so NCL, what in the world's NCL, must be a hacker of some sort, and called her bank and stopped the charge.
Oof.
It took us 3 months to figure all this out, and it was kind of embarrassing all the way around. And that's good, a good reminder to coaches to make sure that if kids use their parents or significant others' credit cards, they tell them, because the computer doesn't know the difference.
So the pro tip here is either use your own card, or if you're going to use someone else's card, make sure they know what you are purchasing, for how much, and who is going to charge their card. I think that's super important, Costas. I would not have thought of that. This is why I'm not doing the show alone.
I think this falls under ethics, that you don't use someone else's credit card without their express permission.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. So with that, if there's no more questions from the audience, we'll wrap up this show. If the audience has questions, I'm going to give you guys about 90 seconds to throw them either in the chat or the ask a question box. I think we kind of covered everything. We covered more than what I know about payments, so I feel like that's everything.
I want to make the point too that
Dan wanted to add something.
We really try to have some flexibility. We've gotten better over the past few years in how we accept payment, and the open PO, I think, is a step in a really good direction. So we want to encourage you to play, and we want to encourage you to help you with that whole process of registering and paying.
Absolutely. I think we have a lot of really good options, and we have a lot of people who are going to support you. So if you're a coach and you want to figure out how to do this, reach out early, reach out often. We're here to help and support you. The best way is info@nationalcyberleague.org. Is there another email for money stuff, Costas?
Yeah, it's finance@nationalcyberleague.org.
Cool. So we also have finance@nationalcyberleague.org. If you email either one of those, it's going to get to Costas one way or another, and he will tell you all the ins and outs. He is very knowledgeable. He helps me figure out all the money things that I have to figure out for NCL all the time, including the occasional no. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up. I don't see any questions from the audience. Toby from Cyber Skyline has graciously posted the link to the Cyber Skyline Slack channel for NCL. It's a really great place to connect with players, coaches, and the player ambassadors, as well as the game makers, Toby and Franz. Toby has also posted the finance@nationalcyberleague.org so that you have it just to click on and copy and paste. So with that, we're going to wrap up this Tuesday coaches call. I hope you guys will be with us next week when we cover what is an NCL coach and how to sign up and participate as a coach. And check out our previous shows. So far, we have covered what is the National Cyber League and why you should get involved, and the rules and ethics. So if you're a coach and you want your students to get involved in the National Cyber League, the best place I can recommend is to come to our Thursday night live shows. Those are Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Crowdcast, and we do that for the students, really. It's more of like a community hangout. We try to coach along the way. We answer questions. We post ridiculous polls. I think last season we asked whether sushi or pizza was better, and like everyone was wrong because everyone put pizza. You know, if you want to be wrong, that's okay. It's mostly just a great place to really get to know the NCL community, to get to hang out with the players, and it's a great place to really get your students inspired to play in the games. You can also check out the National Cyber League website, nationalcyberleague.org. There's a ton of stuff there. If they follow us on Facebook, Twitter, there's lots of cool stuff that comes out there all the time. We have a weekly newsletter. It's our weekly training montage, which links a million times to my blog. We have 4 blogs a week coming out with either NCL content or NCL adjacent content. We have a mini series right now on how to create and run effective cybersecurity clubs that comes out on Friday, and we have a mini series on Saturday about why different players became NCL player ambassadors. So lots of cool stuff, lots of cool places. We hope that we're here to answer all of your questions every Tuesday, and you can always email us at info@nationalcyberleague.org. With that, we're going to let you guys get back to your day, and we hope to see you